October 31st, 2025. Halloween. Last day of the month. For years, I've mentioned to people who are interested in the fall color here that the best time is either the last weekend in October or the first weekend in November. And, well, tomorrow's the 1st of November, so it doesn't get any more first weekend than that. Saturday, the 1st of November. Anyway, I've been out here raking. Clearly, the leaves haven't really fallen yet, but the acorns have finished dropping, and I like to gather them up and get them out of the way. So I thought I'd take a chance here and show you just what the fall colors are looking like this year. This is the front yard. Those are maples that are yellow. The oaks still have a lot of green in them, but they're starting to turn, and if we get a hard freeze or any kind of a freeze, they'll go completely yellow. Otherwise, they do a kind of slow motion and eventually become the color of brown paper sacks, and then they'll drop. They won't last for one or two of the oaks hang on till about Thanksgiving, but the rest of them will be done here in about 2 weeks. Anyway, there's the front yard. That sort of reddish, thin or columnar tree in the middle there is a Chinese pistache, and the rest is pretty much oaks and maple, and that's the pool. And there's looking down towards the lower garden and the bird bath. A couple of big oaks there, and we'll just go right on around. There's a lot of our potted plants. In fact, I'll walk up and show you. Most of the potted plants have been moved in for the winter, but these out here overwinter outside. So there's the east side of the yard. This is the area where Nathan and Aaron got married about 25 years ago. And off in the distance, you can see some red maple and several of the yellow maples. And now we'll go around here and I'll open up the potting shed and show you where everything's been moved in for the winter. I should say everything that's going to be moved in has been moved in for the winter. And then we'll stroll down and take a look around the garden. This is the rhododendron bed here. One little Japanese maple out there turning orange. And here's the potting shed with everything in for the winter. And a little lemon tree which has fruit ripening. It's about par. And the cactus which bloomed nicely this year in early September. Anyway, and over here I have about 100 starts off of Nana's old cactus, which had gotten too big and unmanageable, and when I was moving it, I dropped it and broke it, so I just cut it up and put it into little starts, and they'll be just fine. So anyway, this is where the outdoor plants live for the winter. And now we'll go down and take a look at the garden, which is doing pretty nicely. These peony turn a nice color of orange before they finally give up. That's what's right here in this bed. And a couple of little Japanese anemone which bloom this time of year, but haven't really done their thing yet. Anyway, there's the old Japanese maple. It's got to be about 70 years old. It does 3 different colors during the year. Starts off as a green, then goes to kind of a copper, bronze, and back to green for most of the summer, and then in the fall it turns red. And that's what it's doing right now. There's kind of a look back up towards the house, and the oaks and some more maples, and here's a pine. Here's somebody's airplane taking off. So that's that part of the garden. Come down here in the lower garden. Let's see, here's the tail end of this year's zinnias and the Roma tomatoes, canned about 20 quarts. Maybe a few more that'll ripen, but not enough to bother canning. And we've had 4 or 5 good cuttings off the zinnias, and they'll go till it freezes. And we've got plenty of 30s coming, but nothing down to freezing. That's our old crepe myrtle, which used to be quite vertical, but about 10 years ago we had a heavy snowstorm and it bent over, and it seems to be happy just living that way. These oaks in here are all volunteers. They must be about 20 years old now. And down in this part of the garden is we have the stumbled there, peach trees and apple tree and apricot. Good year for the peaches, hardly anything for the apples, and the apricot, which was his first year in, and it just didn't really produce, but it'll be okay. Down in this corner is an old Raywood ash, put that in about 30 years ago. Below it is a huge bed of forsythia, which is pretty spectacular in the spring. Down in here is a bed that I grew daffodils in last year, mainly for cutting. Scarlett was going to sell them. In fact, she did sell some. Anyway, it's getting ready to overwinter. I'll eventually remove these volunteer cosmos. And then down in this corner, there's a nice display of cyclamen. I'm sure I've sent you some pictures of it, but anyway, there they are. And nice little stand, and it's maples in here, and one oddball plant that I've never been able to figure out, but I think it might be chokecherry. It volunteered. We'll go back over to the other side, which is a little more interesting. This big old black oak was a volunteer, and it's gotten up there, maybe flirting with 40 feet now. A couple of little white oaks around it. This red twig dogwood here is a Wagner Creek red twig dogwood. Wagner Creek is down in Talent, feeds into Bear Creek. And then these other now yellow dogwoods, shrub dogwoods, are some corny name like Autumn Glow or something. Anyway, they do really nice in the wintertime because they have red branches, so without leaves they look kind of interesting. Go back up and over to the other side. This old beat up bloodgood maple here, which is a survivor. It's had its ups and downs. This was a pretty good year. That's a Korean spice viburnum, really fragrant in the spring. Another look at the volunteer oak grove. I think there's 10 trees in there. Anyway, we'll go back around to this side, which is where all the biggest amount of bulbs are in the spring. That red Japanese, or I guess it's kind of a reddish orange Japanese maple right there was a volunteer. And there's an oak coming up through the middle of it that was volunteer too. Next to it is this magnolia, deciduous magnolia called Star Wars, which has a really spectacular spring and a great smell. There's the shed where the Dodge lives, and this winter's firewood. We've had a fire going now for almost a month. Sometimes it isn't necessary, but it's already going, so I just keep it fed. So there's the lower garden. This is a hickory I put in after the wedding in Nashville, where I saw zillions of hickory trees and really liked them. This was about 6 inches tall when I put it in, maybe 17, 18 years ago. And walk around to this side. I don't do many videos, so we'll have to see how this turns out. Although I do have a background in film editing. So here we are down in this corner. This is the madrone right here. Madrones don't transplant unless you're really lucky. And I found this one and moved it when it was about 1 inch tall. It kept the orientation the same. Took out a hell of a lot of root and put it in, and it's made it. And let's see, this is a lilac here in the foreground. Back in this corner is a witch hazel, which has pretty much lost most of its leaves. You can see it there, and it'll blooms in November. Coosa dogwood, oak, volunteer, the red buckeye, which is in the chestnut family, and then another dogwood, and a bed of peonies down here. And go around the path. Here's another Japanese maple. In fact, I've taken about 20 starts off of this thing, and dig them and pot them for a few years and then plant them. So there's a few in here. It's a happy tree. That's a Bosnian red pine there. And behind it is a maple we put in about 30 years ago. Another kind of commercial name called October Sunset or something like that. And there's the old chestnut. This little stand of 8 maples in here. On the left is a paperbark maple, and the 3 branched one there next to it is a big leaf maple, and then there's a vine maple there to the left. And I go around this way. Here's some more of the Japanese maple that has gotten starts. There's a little stand of Nandia, and a really nice saucer magnolia. You can hear the jet going over. I think they were kind of backed up today because the fog just lifted about an hour ago, so they're probably just getting to take off. That's a Japanese white pine, which I'm not sure about now. It's got a couple of dead branches. It might be struggling. I don't water them, so it's probably maybe complaining. We'll see. And back in this corner is a couple of nice, delicate little maples, some rhododendrons, bristlecone pine coming out of that corner there, and a fence I put in about 25 years ago. There's some ferns back in here, and more Nandina, I guess is the name. Here's where all the ferns live. This is the view from the southeast corner of the garden. A little dogwood here in front of us. We put in about 30 years ago too. So this thing is just getting ready to turn. It goes to a crimson red, and it'll be there. Well, you can see some of them are getting the red already, but it'll pick up even more red here in about a week. This right here is a spectacular lilac. Never been pruned. I don't water it. A little bent over this year because we had a big heavy snow in February, and that laid it down to the ground for about a week, but it's coming back just fine, and it has a great spring. Here's the bed where this red oak here, eastern oak, is dropping its leaves, but this bed where the leaves are will be solid blue anemone in the springtime. Here's a little arbutus, commonly called strawberry tree. Gets a nice little bloom on it at some point. You can see the beginnings there, and the fruit looks like a strawberry. And here's their compost piles, and there's another arbutus here in the background, which is a little out of its range. This is a native to Golden Gate Park, and I put it in about 30 years ago. It's frozen to the ground twice. The first time I cut it back and was going to dig it out, but I noticed it was sprouting, so I let it go, and it did fine. And then we had another night 10 years later, we're at 0, and that it doesn't like that, and it dies back to the ground, but it's come back nicely. And a little vine maple, and a place where we sit a lot in the spring. And these are all volunteer oaks in here in this lavender bed. And the lavender's just about done, and there's a mix of Russian sage in with it too. Anyway, that's a tour of what's going on in the fall of 2025. Here's the place where we oftentimes sit, and a little broader view of the garden. And then we'll call it a day. See if I can figure out how to get this thing posted on YouTube and send it down to you. I'll just walk up this way. I think I'm done raking for the day. And there's back where we started. All right, bye-bye.